fiber to total carbs. As an example, I get my food from standard supermarkets and I use this standard supermarket bread called Country Harvest Flaxen Quinoa. That's the one I get. Why? Because it's got 6 grams of fiber and it's got 36 grams of total carbs. That's a 1:6 ratio. That's excellent. That's really good. If you 9 out of 10 of those breads would not have that kind of ratio. But then 1:8 is acceptable, 1:10 is acceptable. But if it's going beyond that, that's a high sugar food. The other kind of metric I like people to look at is protein to calorie ratio. Again, you can have the excellent, the medium, and acceptable. Excellent would be something like a 10%, 1:10 ratio of protein to calories. But you could get up to like 1:12 to 1:14, something like that. And that would be quite acceptable. Often what happens is the foods which have other good nutrients, like fiber, for example, will have a lesser protein to calorie ratio, but they're still very good foods because they also contain not just protein, but also fiber or omega-3, for example. And the third metric I like people to look at is calorie to volume ratio. So as an example, if a food within 100 grams of volume contains less than 200 calories, then that's a fairly good calorie to volume ratio. And if it's the further up it goes, the more calories you have for the volume. The problem with that is because it'll be less satiating, because the more volume a food has, the more space it's going to take up in your stomach and make you feel full. I'll give you a quick example. Let's say you're trying to create a healthy plate for someone with polycystic ovaries. So you get some tofu, really nice healthy source of protein with fiber as well. You also get, let's say, some salmon. Again, you're getting some omega-3 and some more protein in there. You get some quinoa. Again, you've got some fiber and you've got some protein in there as well. Then you get some, let's say, 0% Greek yogurt. You add to the Greek yogurt, let's say, some blueberries or raspberries. That's the one food constituent I forgot to talk to you about, anti-inflammatory agents. And there are primarily the two most powerful anti-inflammatory agents. Anti-inflammatories are always colored. They always have color. Okay? And there are various foods which contain anti-inflammatory agents. The red color could be lycopene. The red color could be quercetin. The purple color could be anthocyanins. The orange color could be beta-carotene. These are all anti-inflammatories. They reduce cancer, they reduce inflammation, they reduce disease. Now, when you look at the vegetable stall at the supermarket, so the squash and the pumpkin and the orange bell peppers, those have beta-carotene, that gives them the orange color. The eggplant and the purple cabbage, that's got the anthocyanin, and the blueberries, and the tomatoes have lycopene, and the raspberries have quercetin, the red apples have quercetin. So all of those colors, and that's why we say, eat your food like a rainbow. You want various colors, because those are all healthy anti-inflammatory compounds. The other thing which has color would be spices. So turmeric and black pepper, ginger and garlic. So ginger, garlic contain allicin, for example. These are all anti-inflammatory compounds. And so increasing color on your plate. So we were talking about that plate. So you started off with you had some quinoa, you had some salmon, you had some tofu, you had some 0% Greek yogurt with blueberries mixed in, perhaps throw in some chia seeds on top of that, And so that would be kind of a healthy plate. You would have, in the nutrition world, someone like me, if you follow me on TikTok, I've got about 20,000 followers, which is literally nothing. But you look at people spreading misinformation like keto diets and all these kinds of crazy carnivore diets. These people have like 15 million followers, And the sad thing about nutrition information is the false information travels real fast. But if you just try to give people the scientific facts, it's kind of boring, and people don't get really excited about it. So a good balanced diet, a good balanced plate, primarily whole foods, staying away mostly from ultra processed foods, factory made foods, very calorie dense foods, foods which have a high amount of saturated fat, which is mostly ultra processed food which contain palm oil, coconut oil, also red meats, deep fried foods, high fat dairy products. Now, of course, high fat dairy actually helps if you're growing. As a growing person, there is good evidence that if you eat a lot of high fat dairy, it actually increases your height, because dairy also contains growth hormones, insulin-like growth factors, etc. But once you get to a certain age, like 25 or so, or maybe 20, you don't really have to have high fat dairy. You can move to low fat dairy. You can move from something like cow's milk to soy milk. And someone with PCOS might as well move earlier because of the benefits, the soy isoflavones, the fiber, lactosaturated fat. But that's essentially how you can build a healthy plate. That kind of plate will give you more nutrition. It'll give you more fiber, more protein. It'll give you more satiety. You'll feel full. And that entire plate might be something like 550 or 600 calories. And you'll feel full for at least 6 or 8 hours. Now, compare that to one cookie from Costco, one of those big cookies, that's 850 calories. It will give you no nutrition, no fiber, no nutrients, no protein, no satiety, and it'll give you more calories. Compare that to a poutine from Costco, which is 2,000 calories. Again, it'll give you no nutrition, no fiber, a bit of protein in the cheese, I guess, a lot of saturated fat. It'll give you no fullness, it'll give you no nutrition, and you'll be on your way gaining more weight, and the condition underlying becomes worse. One thing I'd like to add to what my wife, Dr. Jyoti, was just saying, PCOS belongs to a family of conditions. The only difference being it is exclusive to females because it affects the female organs. Otherwise, other conditions like metabolic syndrome, high triglycerides, low HDL, prehypertension, prediabetes, fatty liver, they all belong to the same kind of constellation of problems. And this is essentially caused because of chronic calorie excess leading to weight gain in most cases. Even if the weight is not up, generally these clients will have increased visceral fat, which means fat inside the belly, in the organs, in the liver, etc., hidden fat around the belly. And these will be clients who have a genetic predisposition. You can't get the condition without having the genes for the condition. So the friend of a person with PCOS could be twice their weight but not have PCOS because they don't have the genetic susceptibility. And so we often say the genetics, the genes, they load the gun and the lifestyle pulls the trigger. So we can't change genes, but we can try our best on the lifestyle.
What might like a daily diet look like for a person who's trying to combat the symptoms of PCOS?
Yeah, so there are actually two parts to this kind of diet, and this is like something I like to say to my clients. You can actually become unhealthy eating healthy food. You can also become healthy eating unhealthy food. So one of the most common misconceptions I see in nutrition is that the quality of nutrition is the be all and end all. Now you might think I'm kind of contradicting myself. I was just talking about healthy food a minute ago. What I mean to say is a handful of nuts can be 500 calories. 3 spoons of olive oil can be about 400 calories. If every time you get stressed, you're having a whole lot of nuts and you're having your Greek salad with a whole lot of olive oil, you could end up gaining weight and the condition becomes worse. Equally, there was a professor who wanted to prove this point. He went on the McDonald's diet, but it was a low-calorie McDonald's diet. Every time he'd go in, he'd cut the burger in half. He'd cut everything down in half. He was having a 1,600 calorie meal, but he was cutting it in half. So he was having 800 calories for lunch, 800 calories for dinner, which is 1,600 calories. And he'd have a bit of vegetable or whatever on top of that, 50 calories more perhaps. He was in a calorific deficit. He did it for about 2 months. McDonald's diet.